Yeah.
Is this good?
That's good. Stop. Stop it. Okay. Okay.
Oh.
Alright, how should I start it? Like, hey friends, we're back with another episode of Art Club, and they're mowing their grass.
Hot bug.
Today I'm doing a highly anticipated episode about printmaking. Well, when I say highly anticipated, I mean highly anticipated by myself. Because if I can call myself an expert on anything, it's this, printmaking. I went to college for printmaking. I have a degree in printmaking. What, so printmaking with like a printer? No. I'm talking about printmaking when printers didn't even exist yet. Let's talk about it. You guys know what a stamp is, right? It's that little piece of rubber that is bumpy, and when you put ink on it and press it on a piece of paper, you get a little image, like a little smiley face or something. Well, that's printmaking, and that's actually relief printmaking. The process of printmaking means that the art you are creating is on something that's called a matrix, and is not actually going to be the finished piece of artwork. The thing that you have been working so hard on is not going to be the final piece of art. The final piece of art is what you get when you put ink on the surface of this matrix, put it on a piece of paper, and you got your final print. The cool thing about printmaking is that you can make unlimited copies of your final piece of artwork. It's really awesome that you can work on something and then make multiples of it. It's a great way to start a little business and sell your work to other people without having to charge a lot of money to sell it. So the basics of printmaking is that you have something that you made that you're going to transfer onto something else. There are many different types of printmaking that include relief printmaking, screen printing, intaglio printmaking, monotyping, and collagraphs. Today I'm going to teach you how to make a relief print.
So this is an example of a matrix that would create a relief print. It is a piece of linoleum that was carved into with a sharp knife. If you look closely, it basically just looks like a giant stamp. So when you print this image, it creates a mirror image of what you carved onto the block. This is linoleum, and it is a soft material that is easy to carve into. This pink stuff is called Easy Cut or Speedy Carve. This brown linoleum is denser, which means it's more difficult to carve with a knife, but you can get a lot more detail. If you're new to this, I would recommend starting with the Easy Carve. Speaking of cutting, the next tool you're going to need is called a gouge. So this is a gouge, and it's a Speedball brand, and I actually have my little knives in the handle here. Gently place your knife into that open area in the top, and then screw it on tight. So since you're a beginner, I'm going to use the Speedy Carve. I'm going to make 2 small prints out of this one piece of Speedy Carve. So what I'm doing is I'm using a hard edge and an X-Acto knife to cut through the Speedy Carve. You just need a couple of swipes of an X-Acto knife, and you can just bend it and cut it as to whatever size you want. So now you got to figure out what your stamp is going to look like. So what I'm doing here is taking a piece of tracing paper and tracing the outline of my Speedy Carve block. This way I can draw whatever I want in that box and transfer it onto the Speedy Carve. So I could actually trace an already existing image if I wanted to. So once I have my drawing, I'm flipping the tracing paper upside down onto the block and rubbing the back side of it with my fingernail. This will transfer the graphite of the pencil onto the block. Now, so the image doesn't smudge away, I'm taking a Sharpie and just outlining my drawing. You want your image to be relatively simple with the Speedy Carve. I actually wouldn't trace your image with anything smaller than a regular Sharpie. Once you have your image in Sharpie on your block, we can start to carve. There's a U-shaped gouge, which is made for carving out large areas of space at a time. And there is a V-shaped gouge, which is used for carving out small lines and details. I would recommend turning your linoleum over and doing some practice carves on the back just to get the hang of it. When using your carving tool, you are going to put your palm on the end of the carving tool. You are then going to put your finger on that rough part on the tip. And that is how you are going to guide your lines. Another rule I want you to follow is that you should always be carving away from yourself and on the top half of your linoleum block. This will ensure that you will not cut yourself. If you have to make a curved line, instead of curving your actual tool, you're going to turn the block while you carve, and that is going to create a curved line. So this is what you don't want to do. You don't want to hold it like a pencil. You don't want to carve towards yourself or towards your fingers. You always want to keep your fingers behind your carving tool. Once you got some practice in, you are ready to start carving. And your goal is to just carve away anything on your block that is not in Sharpie. When carving, I'm starting out by outlining all of the black area that I'm not going to carve away, so that there's kind of a barrier there, so it's less likely that I am to slip and cut through a piece that I don't want to cut through. I decided to use the V-gouge for this entire piece. Even though I'm carving a lot of this pink area away, I really like the texture that it creates when you use a smaller gouge. It's up to you how you want to do this. So check this out. My image is carved out, and as you can see, all of the pink is carved away except for what I drew with my Sharpie. And with that other piece of linoleum, I'm drawing just a couple of stars right on the block and carving them out, because I think I might do some layering with my stamps. All done. They look great. Can't wait to start printing.
So we finished carving your stamps, so now we're going to move on to the actual printmaking process. And you can get really experimental with it. So I'm going to go through the materials you'll need to print out your stamps. So you're going to need your stamp that you carve, obviously. You're going to need some paper towels because things might get messy. You're going to need some paper, and I have a variety of different papers here. I have this homemade paper that I made. If you're interested in learning how to make homemade paper at home, go watch my other video on it. I also have this white mixed media paper out of a sketchbook, and I cut it down into various sizes, like a small, medium, and a large size. You want to make sure you prepare all of your paper before you actually start printing, because your hands might get inky, and you really want to be careful about transferring ink onto your nice paper. The next thing you're going to need is a brayer. Brayers are similar to like a paint roller if you're like painting your house, except this is what you're going to use to transfer ink onto your print. Okay, I'm going to show you how to use this in a minute. These you could buy at almost any craft store, although they are kind of expensive. This cost me about $20 at Michael's, but I want you to keep in mind that with printmaking, you are making multiple prints, so I really think that this is worth it if you're interested in printmaking. It'll last you forever, unlike a lot of other art supplies. Okay, you're also going to need ink. When you're printmaking, you never want to use acrylic paint. Acrylic paint is meant to dry quickly into like a plastic material, and this ink is water soluble and it dries slower. I'm using, like I said, whoa, calm down. I'm using water soluble Speedball block printing ink. You can also get fabric printing ink if you're interested in printing on fabric. You could print on fabric with something like this, but we wouldn't be able to put it in the wash because again, it's water soluble. That means when you put water in this, it's going to break down. Okay, the last thing you're going to need for printmaking is a palette. Okay, a palette is where you're gonna put your ink down so you can then transfer it to your stamp. Now, I recommend your palette being a piece of glass or plexiglass. You can even use like a piece of Duralar or Mylar, but won't last you as long. If you don't just have a piece of glass lying around, you could just, you could just find a frame. It doesn't even have to be an old frame. Take it apart and use that glass piece right here, okay? This ink is water soluble, so you're gonna be able to perfectly clean that piece of glass, so don't worry about ruining it, okay? Okay, I'm gonna take this apart right now because I'm gonna start printing. All right, so I have taken that image out of the frame and I'm removing this glass piece, which I'm gonna use for my palette. So I only have two colors with me right now, and that's red and black. So I'm actually going to start with the red for a reason, and I'll show you later. So I'm just, again, going to put a little dab of ink on the bottom part of my palette. Just a little bit, you don't need a lot, because these stamps are pretty small. And you can now grab your brayer. I'm just going to dip my brayer in on one side all the way across this blob of ink. See that? And then I'm going to start rolling the ink out on my palette. I'm going to go front and back, and then I'm going to go side to side. And my goal is to just create an even layer of ink right here. So if you look really closely to the ink that's on my brayer, you can kind of see that it looks like the texture of an orange peel. And when you have that texture, you know you have enough ink and you're ready to start printing. What I'm going to do now is take my inky brayer here, and I'm going to just roll my brayer right over my stamp. I'm just setting my brayer down. You always want to set your brayer down with the handle facing the table, because laying your brayer down flat like this will slowly over time ruin the rubber part of the brayer. Hot tips. Okay, so I'm picking up my little stamp here and I'm transferring it on this side of the palette. I'm going to dedicate this side of the palette to inking and this side to printing, okay? Because the ink, as you can see, will probably get on the table, and you don't want this messy ink to be transferred to your nice paper. So I'm going to try printing on the homemade paper that I made. And what you're gonna do is, I wanna make sure that my print is centered. So I'm just kind of laying my piece of paper next to my print, and I'm going to pick it up by the corners with my, oop, I just ripped it. With my fingers right here, and I'm going to just lift it up slightly, move it right over the print, and just very gently drop it. Okay, at this point, I'm not allowed to pick that paper up, because if I picked it up and then put it back down, it's gonna create a double image, okay? If it's off center, you can always trim that piece of paper later. So now I'm just going to press, okay, and I'm going to just kind of rub the outside of the paper. Before I pull this piece of paper up, I'm going to put my palm on one half and just lift up the paper on one side to see how it printed. Okay, it's good. I think it needs a little more pressure. So I'm going to just continually press. All right, I'm going to check it one more time. All right, I think it looks pretty good. So this is the best part. I'm going to slowly lift up my paper. There you go. You got a print. Now, this homemade paper might not be the absolute greatest for printing because its surface is quite bumpy. So where there are divots in the paper, it didn't pick up the ink. But that's no big deal. I have a lot of other pieces of paper. So let's try another piece of paper. I'm just gonna put this on the side to dry. Lift. You got a print. It looks super cute. So I finished with my red ink, but before I move on to my black colors, I have to clean up all the red ink off of my brayer and my palette before I use the black ink. But this is all water soluble, so it's super easy to clean. Okay, so everything's in the sink. So all I have to do is turn the water on and all of this ink's gonna disappear. Okay, now that everything's clean, we're gonna switch colors. I'm going to print with this black ink right now. And I'm also going to switch stamps to this art club stamp that I made. When I flip this over, I can see that the surface texture looks similar to an orange peel, and that's how I know I'm ready. Line it up, slide it over, lightly drop it, and press. And it's ready to be pulled off. Ta-da! as you can see, I had to carve Art Club backwards so you could see it the right way on the actual piece of paper. So the reason I did red stars is so I could print this one on top of it and make like a double layered print. It's my favorite thing to do with Relief Printmaking. Oh my gosh, guys. It's beautiful. Look at it. Check this out. You can make really, really detailed pieces of work by using 2 different prints on one piece of paper. And yeah, it may take a lot of time to carve, but it really takes like 1 minute to make a print, maybe even less. I could make 100 of these and I could hand them out, I could sell them, and like really create a good business out of it. Oh, it's great, guys. How cute. Alright, so now you know how to create your own stamp and print it all on your own at home. It's super easy, and it's like a really great way to make multiple pieces of artwork at once. If you like the video, please subscribe. It means a lot and helps me out tremendously. Follow me on Instagram at Art Club Lessons and tag me in your work with the hashtag Art Club Lessons. Well, thanks for watching. See you next time.